Welcome to episode 5 of Self Build and Renovation Live by NSBRC. Can't believe it's episode 5, right? It's wonderful. 10 years of employee ownership is the topic we're addressing today, and it means I've got a full panel that we're going to really find out about this. We're shooting this now. It's not going out fully live, but you can still put any comments or questions in because there will be someone watching those and able to drop a line. So make sure you do, because someone will be back to you, I guarantee it. First of all, far end, Harvey Fremlin, Managing Director. Welcome back to the show again, Harvey.
Hi, Chris. Thank you very much for coming back. Super excited to be talking about our decade of employee ownership.
Yeah, absolutely. And we haven't seen you on the show since episode 2, I think it was.
Episode 2. I think I made a brief appearance when we did the live.
You did?
We did the live show at the show, the live broadcast of the show in October, which was a really busy couple of days for us. But yeah, it's quite nice actually, now we've reached December, to take a bit of time to kind of reflect on the year that's just gone by.
Absolutely. It was a cracking show. Next up, Katie Ashcroft, the Content Marketing Manager. You've been busy.
Yeah, certainly have been. I'm sure we're going to get into all of that. But yeah, in terms of marketing, 10 years of employee ownership, all the new events that we've brought out this year, certainly has been a busy one. But yeah, very glad to be back. Just can't believe it's episode 5 already.
I know, it's brilliant, isn't it? I think it's episode 3 was the last time we got you on. We were down on the ground over there and just in the build-up to the live show.
Gosh, yeah, that's flown by. I can't believe that show's been and gone as well.
Yeah, I know, absolutely amazing. And in a newbie, hello, that Harvey said was my long-lost brother. I'll give him that. It is Phil Wilson, the Business Development Manager.
Hello, yes. Yes, episode 5, so I've managed to escape it far, and I'm not getting away with this time. Yes, so Business Development Manager, so I look after the sales of the exhibition stands that we have here, Chris.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been here since 2012. So I've been here a while.
Blimey, that is, yeah.
Yeah, so happy to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
So that was before it was employee owned.
I was here before we turned employee owned. Yeah, I was one of the originals.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of trade stands that are around here, isn't it?
Over 200 trade stands.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's a lot of changes over those years.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I really enjoyed, a quick sidetrack for a moment, is that when we did, obviously at the live show, we did the roaming camera bits and wandering around and catching up with people.
I was hiding around the pillars.
Every time you did. Yeah, you timed it to perfection.
Yeah.
But it was wonderful to catch up with so many people from so many different facets of the self-build and renovation world, that literally people come in here and everything is there for them to find out about.
I mean, that's the dream was to have everything under one roof, and we've got there, I think.
And I'm allowed to say this because I'm outside, so I kind of, people say that and you kind of go, yeah, okay, that's the goal.
Yeah,
it's there. I mean, it's just, I love the variety that was out there. Even when I thought that I knew majority of stuff that was here, when we did that roaming, I was like, oh my God, that's really cool.
I mean, what we want is, when a visitor comes in and says, have you got someone who does this? Yes, we have.
Yeah, exactly right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Right, today's episode then, that 10 years of employee ownership. First off, to you, Katie, what is, I know it's fairly self-explanatory, but let's expand on it. What is employee ownership?
Sure, yeah, it seems like the right place to start before we do a deep dive. So on the EOA, the Employee Ownership Association's website, they managed to describe employee ownership really succinctly. So they say employee ownership is where employees have a say and a stake in the company that they work for. There's lots of different types of structures of employee ownership. So this can be employees directly owning shares within a company, to having shares held on behalf of the employees in an employee-owned trust. Okay. We also have something called a SIP scheme, a share incentive plan, in which employees can basically attain shares within the company. So there's lots of different ways in which you can have shares in an employee-owned business. It can be either held only by the employees of a company, but sometimes you have an external stakeholder as well. So for us, it's an investor. So I believe at the moment we're 80.1 80.1% employee owned. So the other 20% is held by an external stakeholder, our investor Capital for Colleagues, who've been with us from the very start of our employee owned journey. But yeah, businesses who are employee owned, there's actually quite a few quite popular ones I think that people would know about. So there's Aardman Studios who do Wallace and Gromit. There's Go Ape, they're employee owned. There's also Lush, the cosmetics company as well. So there's loads of different shapes and sizes across all sectors of employee owned companies.
And I don't know whether this is maybe a question for you, Harvey. As well as having the say, is there that you also are all taking, for want of a better word, the risk together as well?
Yeah, there's an element of that because we've got, so Katie's described a different model. So our model is a hybrid model. So we've got a mix of shares held in the EOT, the Employee Ownership Trust. Some of us have direct shares in the company. And then we have the SIP scheme, which is another trust as well. So everyone has a genuine stake in the company. And therefore, yes, they have that say and that voice in terms of some of the decisions that we make as a business. And they're also going to hopefully benefit when the business is doing well. Through various ways, profit share being the most obvious. But with that is the flip side of that. When times are difficult or challenging for a company, we all have to roll up our sleeves and, and kind of take the rough with the smooth as well. So there is absolutely an element that we're kind of in it together for the good and the bad and the ugly. And we've seen the ugly in the early days. So Phil and I were both working for the kind of previous operator of the business. So we've seen when the business has gone through challenging times and, the kind of joyfulness that employee ownership can bring, when you get it right.
Yeah. And I think, Phil, briefly to you, because obviously just clocking that you were before this happened as well, is that you've mentioned the joy. I would also use the word pride because there is an ownership there that you're not just employed. It's like, this is our baby.
Yeah, definitely.
It's got to make a difference, that motivation when the chips are down.
It absolutely does, and you can see that in all of the employees that work here. But, personally, for myself, been with the company a long time, 10 years employee owned, at one point where Harvey goes back to the very start, we weren't sure whether this company was going to be here at all.
Yeah.
Was it going to be here next week, next month, next year, let alone 10 years? It took a lot of hard work to get us where we are, and it does make you proud, and do feel proud every day.
Motivated every day. It's got to make a big difference.
It definitely does. Yeah.
And I think that possibly leads on to my next question to you, is that why did NSBRC become...
Absolutely. So the previous operators were struggling, for want of a better word, really, to keep the business going the way they wanted to run the business. We had an opportunity then to take that business off the previous operators. It wasn't easy. It was rocky times. Harvey had just been promoted to the MD then. We had a few employees, 10, 12 employees at the time, Harvey, I think. And, we weren't sure whether the business was going to be working or not, or could we do it? We weren't really sure, but Harvey took us into one room, got us all in one room, said, right, I believe there's a business here. We can move this forward. Not sure if I can pay you next month. Who's with me? And
it's pretty much that.
I kind of put my hand up and went, okay. And 6 people put their hands up. A couple of people walked straight out of the room, and we haven't seen them since. I had to go to the wife and say, this is what's happening. Not
it's
sure.
Not for everyone, is it?
Not at all. I had a small daughter with another daughter on the way at the time. Babe, this is going to happen. I think we can make it work. Might not be getting paid next month, but if it works out, it's going to be great. And she gave me the support, and 10 years later, here we are. But it was. There were 6 of us at that time. One day I was serving coffees in the coffee shop. Next day I'm cleaning the toilets. Then I'm trying to sell stands, trying to help with the marketing. It was long days and long hours, but we knew we had the culture there, and we knew that if we just kept doing what we believed would happen, we'd get there. And
even though times aren't as stressful now, there is absolutely still that element of we all pitch in and help across other departments. So even though, at the start we said I'm in marketing, on Friday I was helping out with front of house bits and pieces, if people are needed elsewhere in the business or there isn't enough staffing, like we all just absolutely come together and that's a constant. I don't think that's ever going to change. And
I think it's nice.
It's good.
Yeah,
I think it is really, really, and we sense it. Tom and I, my producer, and I sense it whenever we come in here. Is that I would go as far as to use the word family.
It's definitely a family. It is a
family vibe. Yeah,
Totally.
You've probably
for
heard,
better or for worse.
Well, you probably heard Harvey say it before. It's not utopia. This isn't. As a family, you have your ups and downs, and you have your, but generally we do come together as a family, if you like, and it all clicks into place.
We've all got the same goal, and
exactly.
I mean, it is. Remind me, Katie, how long have you been here?
So I've been here since 2018. So this is actually still is my first full-time job, essentially.
Yeah.
So I've only ever worked full-time for an employee-owned business, this employee-owned business.
Yes. Yeah. So you've not got the frame of reference the other way necessarily.
I suppose not, but yeah, I can absolutely see and feel the benefits of working for an employee-owned business every day. I know how lucky I am, and that's why I'm still here.
Yeah, and that's what I like, is that we've got those different, the people that have sort of like been dragged along in the chains, those that only know it from the chains, and those that kind of was getting the troops to go forward. And I mean, Harvey, that must have been an interesting conversation to have into that room. And like, even the couple that left, it's like, absolutely, they've got every right to do that.
100%. Yeah, like you said, it wasn't for everyone. And people had to make their own decisions, in those kind of times of distress, really. So what happened is, just as Phil described, you've got that small kind of group of people that recognise that this is quite a unique, resource that we have here. And we've always loved working here. We just saw that there was potentially a different way to run the business and make it profitable and successwe and it came down to building relationships, really. So we had the relationship within the team. And then the first thing that we did was, once we managed to negotiate a new lease with our landlord as a new business, was right, let's draw up a very simple business plan here. And it was a key, most important thing that happened was, we all got round a table, we shut the centre for a couple of days, and we did that together. So it didn't matter how long anyone had previously been with the company, what role they had with the business. Everyone had a say in putting their vision, our vision, for where we wanted to take this business. Now we kept that relatively short term, so we were looking 2 to 3 years ahead, which for some business plans is relatively short. But because we've come through that period of distress, 3 years seemed a long time in the future at that point. Yeah. So it was about we wanted to be the heart of the sector. We wanted to be this outstanding business to work for and with, which is where the relationships really come into their own. So what Phil and his colleague Gareth and all of us collectively have done is really worked on building that trust and that genuine relationship with our different types of customers. So whether it's the exhibitors that show their amazing products and technologies in the centre, whether it's those individual homemakers that come as visitors to see the educational resources that we have here and the displays and engage with the guys on the help desk. It's about that relationship that builds the trust, that builds loyalty, and I think that's what we've developed really as our kind of employee-owned culture. Is we've got each other's back, and yeah, just as you said, family is a word that we do mention, quite often. And Phil, you're absolutely right. It doesn't mean it's always perfect, and it doesn't mean that we've hit on this kind of genius plan where everything we do is right. It's not. We're SME, we're a relatively modest business with about 22 employees now. We turn over about 2 million quid a year. And I think we really punch above our weight in several areas, marketing absolutely being one.
Yeah, I mean, Katie, that is the way. Yeah, but I mean, that is marketing, isn't it? We always have to sort of like portray bigger than it might actually be. And
sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, what a great facility here from the marketing. I'm going off on a slight tangent here, but in the marketing, you need to be given the foundation to run with to then market. And it's just a wonderful facility that you've been given.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's so much going on all the time. It's a huge venue in of itself. So we've got so many resources. So whether it's our self-build educational journey, the renovation house, I know we're going to come on to the new retrofit zone later. So when people are coming to visit the centre, there's already so much to see. But with all the events going on and how much we're able to create every year, it feels like we're coming up with new events depending on what is it that our visitors want to learn more about? What are the new technologies?
That's the thing. It's constantly evolving, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's been led by very much acknowledging you've got two of these, one of them, use them in that order. Listen to what the people need.
Yeah.
And I get the impression that's those coming through the door and those that were already in the doors as well. That you listen to both of those of what goes on, because everybody's involved by the looks of it as well.
And we do. We run various, just going with the partners, so the exhibitors here. We have various networking events, and we ask them all the time, what is it you want from us? Is there anything we can be doing? Have you any new technologies we don't know about? Is there something we should? And and we take that on board. And if we can, if we can change for the better, we do.
Exactly.
And like you say, we're constantly evolving. The market is constantly evolving.
The content, the training content is from feedback, everything. I mean, obviously, say a big thank you. We're in today.
This is an Ultraline's stand.
Thank you, guys.
They will know that we're here because they've got a camera in here themselves.
They'll be behind us. Yeah.
They'll be fine.
Yeah. But lovely venue. Harvey, you kind of alluded to this already, but I have a note that says your initial business plan fitted to one single piece of paper.
It did. It was A3.
Oh, fair. That's a bit then.
But it literally did. So it was the first time that I'd run a company. It was the first time that Phil had sort of led a sales team. And we thought, let's keep this simple. So we brought in a local business advisor, actually, who we still work with today. So over a decade of working with them. And we came up with this very simple plan on a page concept. So it set out what our mission was. So i.e., what were we as a business then? What we were all about, how we were formed, which is we're talking about as an employee-led business where we make the decisions and we can be agile. And then what was that vision that we wanted for the business? So it started off with lots of flip charts and coloured pens and kind of drawing kind of awards and fireworks going off and banknotes and all the good stuff that we wanted to kind of create. And it was like, right, okay, that's lovely, but how are we going to get there? So we narrowed it down to 9 strategic goals, things that are really important to us. Some are very, very simple. So be financially viable as a business, so, and then below that, there were some priorities. So for us, one of them was make sure we pay all of our suppliers on time, every time. Look after the people that are looking after us, build those relationships again. Make sure we're doing the absolute best use, putting our marketing budget to the absolute best use. So let's really look at what's working for us, what doesn't, how we're going to attract the right people, because we've got loads of ways between us that we could bring far more people into this centre, but actually it's important that we're talking to the right people who have got genuine projects. So we narrowed those strategic goals down, which all kind of fed into delivering that vision. And if they weren't a priority, they actually got put on an ideas bank, a 10th column, which was the ideas. And we actually, some of those ideas that 10 years ago weren't quite right for us now, well then we've since introduced. So, and the lovely thing about that was everyone therefore had that shared kind of vision. We all knew where we were headed. And over the years, we've sat down as a team and reviewed that a couple of times now. So we still retain that sense of everyone, no matter what role you do in the company, has that, collective shared, ambition and understand where we're headed to.
Sorry, the beauty of it as well, people can see that plan on a page and your name is against a specific project. Right.
Yeah.
So when we're in the meetings that we hold, you can still see that you're responsible for it. So it brings the whole team, everyone's responsible.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I can sort of chip in with the modern day side of things.
Yes.
So it's definitely something that has stuck since we've become employee owned, and every so often for each department we'll get together and we'll have one for conferencing, because believe it or not, we're also a conferencing venue. We do it all.
Good one, yeah.
We have one for sales, one for marketing, one for the front of house team. It's got all the strategic goals on, as Harvey and Phil have said. But yeah, it's something we still use all the time, and we've actually got our marketing one coming up very soon.
Yeah, Monday, I think.
Yeah, very soon. It's super useful though. It keeps us on track.
Yeah. And I think we've mentioned culture a little bit earlier, and one of the most important things, and I think it's how you can actually distinguish between an EO company and a normal company, ordinary company, if you like, because we're just an SME. All the things we do, having a business plan, having engaged employees, any company can do that really. Yeah. It comes down to that kind of difference of culture. So everyone that arrives at the centre is thinking and behaving like an owner or a leader in the business for a start. And then we have a huge awareness about being as transparent as possible, internally and externally as well. So those meetings that Katie referred to, we will look at, what's going well, what's not going so well. Every month we will share our monthly management accounts with everyone in the team. And with a bit of education behind that, so people can actually understand what they're looking at as well, because not everyone actually understands a profit and loss sheet or a balance sheet. So by having that information, we're all absolutely we've got all that information to hand, and we know how our bit of the business is affecting, the overall performance of the company. And we do that with our exhibitors. So we're very, very honest about the number of people that are visiting us, the types of projects that they've got, the budgets that they've got, and that builds that trust as well. So then when people are thinking about whether they renew their contract with Phil and Gareth to have their stands, that they will do, because they can see that the data that we're providing is absolutely 100% accurate.
And I really like that. When we were here, we obviously broadcast live from day one of your 2-day event in October.
Yeah.
I've lost track of time now. Can't believe it's December already. And you were kind enough to invite for a quick drink afterwards, where everybody got together, all of the exhibitors, the partners, and everyone else. And you stood up, and the banter, the atmosphere in there was amazing. It did become a collective team altogether, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was really, really nice. Yeah. And even their involvement in what you guys are doing, whether it's on the marketing, the sales, and operational. Because even, like, for example, this show, I had at least 2 or 3 people from the partners turn around and go, I love the fact that NSBRC are pushing outside of the 4 walls, i.e. taking it a lot wider, because they know that it helps them get the exposure and get people here and through the doors and in front of them. But it was just that everybody seems to be evolving together.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you think about what the purpose of our business is, the why, if you like, for us, it's about helping people enjoy and live in better, sustainable homes. That's our why. And we can't do that on our own. We can only do that by having the very best manufacturers, suppliers, advisors in the sector, in the house building sector, all together, under this one giant roof, and kind of create that hub, really. So we have to, bring the exhibitors on board, because we can't do it ourselves. And by doing that, the visitors, the people that are interested in, building or living in one of these better quality homes, they then get that same sense of reassurance that the people that they're talking to want that for them as well. So very, very rarely will you be visiting the centre and being sold to. It's all about, we've seen this, haven't we, in the previous episodes, people just want to give you the best advice, the best information, so that you can then go home and make, kind of educated, informed decisions about what's best for you.
And joining the dots, I found, was important, because it's not just going, right, I now need to be educated on that, but something will come up and they go, okay, so to enable this, I need that. Is there something? Oh yeah, they'll go and speak to them about that. And it joins those dots together, and you are just literally being educated. And a lot of it as well is, I did not know that was even possible. I saw a lot of those around this venue. And I think that's brilliant. I do love that. Can you tell? I love it. I love wandering around. Phil, to yourself, one of the key phrases that I was given was pandemic resilience as well, because in the middle of this, 10 years ago, difficult, recover from that, and then suddenly, what was it, 2020?
We thought,
let's throw in a curveball.
We thought 2020 was going to be the year.
Yeah.
We kept saying 2020 is our year.
The year of self-build.
The year of self-build. And then,
life happens.
Life stopped happening.
Life
Closed the doors. So essentially we were a visitor centre with no visitors, or no visitors allowed.
Yeah.
We were thinking, what are we going to do? How are we going to get over this? So, one idea we had, Harvey's idea probably, we've got a huge database of previous visitors or people that may have signed up or attended one of our courses, etc. Now we knew through this closure, this pandemic, that they still needed help with their projects. And we thought, right, we've got this huge database of people. Maybe they visited us last week, last year, last month. We're going to phone them. So we set up something called Self-Build Pro, I believe it was called. And we turned this, our office upstairs, essentially into a call centre. So obviously we had to be, what's the word?
Socially distanced.
Miles apart from each other.
We were miles apart. The office is big. There were 6 or 7 of us, I believe, and we came in, and essentially we had a database of past visitors. We're like, okay, let's phone these people up. Let's see. So I'm phoning Mr. Jones. Hi, Mr. Jones. You visited the centre a few weeks back. Sorry, we're closed now. Hope you're okay. Hope you're safe. You were in. How's your project? So we could see what project they had. So Mr. Jones might have had a self-build plot in Bath or whatever. And he'll be like, okay, actually, no, I still need to speak to a heating company, or I'm still looking at potentially a window company. Okay, so dig a bit further. Okay, well, I can recommend a few companies for you. We could then send those leads on to our exhibiting partners still. Yeah. So I'd phone,
Because during the pandemic, building was one of the very few activities that actually was allowed to carry on.
Yeah, exactly.
So building merchants, for example, were open. And people didn't necessarily realise that. Again, being very, very careful with health and safety and social distancing and all that good stuff. But so it was a way of us bringing the centre to people when they couldn't come to us, essentially.
And it was received really well. I mean, the visitors were really happy that we were phoning them and saying, this is great service. Of course, our partners, I'd phone Mr. Window Guy and say, hey, John from Bath, still looking at some windows. I've spoken to him this morning. Can you give him a call? And they'd do, okay, well, this is fantastic. So, again, that was still continuing the support from our partners. Because at the end of the day, they pay us an annual rent to have a space here. So we were still offering them a service, our visitors a service. And, it got us out of the house and stopped me going insane, really.
Yeah.
But to be fair, and I've got to applaud you guys for doing that, because that particular task is outside of a lot of people's comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And enjoyment is not the most enjoyable of that.
Yeah. I kind of run that little self-build, the call centre, if you like. I'd worked in a call centre environment before, so I kind of knew it wasn't high pressure. I wasn't like, I've got to make 100 calls today or anything like that. But it was...
Yeah, got you.
So, but and for the first few calls, we all sat in this big office upstairs, and I don't know, Christina was over there, and I, come on, Christina, pick the phone up. Everyone's listening to me. That
is horrible.
But after a couple of days, all of a sudden, and the phones were flying, and we were calling people, and it was really, really good. It was a great atmosphere, and we'd have KFC Fridays or whatever.
Other fast food is available.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, shouldn't have said that. No. I kind of also wonder whether, perversely, that's been a useful experience to go through, that people have suddenly gone, oh yeah, it's not that hard to do. It's not.
That's right.
Because it's a mental block with that particular task, I find.
Sure.
I can be terrible.
What was interesting, so alongside Phil and his team in the centre doing our call centre, Katie and I really became hosts of various online events and workshops and surgeries. And
So just obviously one of our key offerings is running the shows, which you've mentioned. Obviously you've been to one. And then all the other workshops and courses. There's something going on here all the time, every weekend, it feels like. So suddenly being told, you can't do that for the foreseeable. And, at first we thought, maybe this is going to be a month or two.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was a lot more than that. So we did have to find a way to pivot our offerings really quickly and find a solution. And sort of bringing it back to the theme of employee ownership, I think being EO really helped us from that point of view, because it was me and you predominantly working on these Zoom sessions and speaking with our partners, and curating the content and the events, and just having to move like that. And I think
being able to move like that.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, obviously all from our kitchens at this point. But I just think if we were in a bigger company, perhaps we would have needed to get through all those layers of approval and sign off. And obviously, we did all the correct procedures and we made sure it was all, of a good standard.
But we would literally create a workshop on a Monday morning between us, and we were delivering it in front of hundreds of people on the Thursday, afternoon. So we could be really, really quick with things, couldn't we? And people genuinely really appreciated it. And we know that because when we were able to reopen our doors, they would come in and tell us, which was great. And the feedback we got, instantly was lovely on the chat, functions of Teams or Zoom or whatever platform we were using. But them coming and saying during that time, it was so fantastic to be able to still carry on with our research and get this information and know that other people were in the same boat as us. So I think, people did absolutely appreciate it, didn't they?
We were so proud of it. We've actually got a poster. It's like a printout of all of the key stats from this time. And it's going to sound a bit sad, but I know it off by heart. Here we go. I only know this because I've been sat across it since maybe 2021. But we produced 245 hours of online content, live content. Yeah. And this was attended by 5,081 virtual visitors. And we did 34 individual events. So
wow. And we'd never done anything online before.
Yeah,
purely because of the pandemic.
Yeah. We spoke about doing online events, what can we do for our visitors, how can we give them the best experience? But in terms of online events, because we've got this fantastic centre and there's so much here, it never really reached the top of our to-do list because we just wanted people to come and see the centre because that's, at the end of the day, that's going to be the most beneficial thing is if you actually walk through the doors and you can look at the different products, read about the services, engage with people, that's probably the best thing. Yeah. But, given the restrictions, I think we were able to be very agile.
Yeah. So coming back to that culture, so you've got Phil suddenly wearing a call centre manager hat, Katie is kind of TV host and most other things, and then some of her other colleagues who might otherwise have been furloughed during that time. So Kirsty, I can remember, were painting our toilets and different areas, reception area, because they just wanted to come in and do something so that when we were able to open our doors, the centre was looking as sharp as it possibly could. So I'm not sure if you'd always get that, that kind of almost like people volunteering their time because they wanted to make a difference.
They care about it.
Especially as the weather was nice and they were all outside barbecuing and drinking during
and what was amazing, coming back to our plan on a page, the very first bit in terms of our vision was to be an award-winning business, and we did get an award at the end of the pandemic. So the Employee Ownership Association kind of recognised what we did and gave us this award for business resilience at the end of that time. So it was probably the best award that we've won actually in terms of it. It was the whole team we were able to kind of get us to that position. So it meant a lot to us. It
probably was the most complete demonstration you could give of the benefits of employee ownership.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. The weather we could have all just said, no, just close the doors.
I'm barbecuing.
And then hopefully we'll come back in 6 months' time and hopefully the business will still be there. But I think had we done that, I don't think we probably would have survived, but it would have been a lot harder.
Like a fingernails job, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Another note that I had with regards to your pandemic resilience that I'm intrigued about, and I've deliberately not asked until now, because it says half marathon.
Harvey.
This guy.
We try to support local charities and community groups when we're able to. And we were reading about Threshold, which is a Swindon-based charity who look after homeless people, and the difficulties they were getting in, because I don't know if you remember, but the government were doing their very best to try and help anyone that didn't have a fixed home to get them safe and indoors. So we wanted to try and raise some money to help Threshold, but some of the kind of typical activities that you might normally do weren't available to us. So at the time, my physique slightly changed in the last couple of years, but at the time I was quite a keen runner. So we ended up doing an indoor half marathon for charity. And there were only two of us in the building, so me running and Phil, Phil had one job, which was to...
I did a couple of laps.
Phil did join me for a few laps, actually, but Phil's job was to mark every time I had done a lap in the centre on a big flip chart.
Because no one could see this, I was there as proof that he'd done it. We kind of filmed a little bit and I was marking off the laps. So this was inside this building.
Wow. And there was one moment where Phil was also doing some social media stuff as well. I ran past him and noticed he hadn't marked the flip chart. And I was thinking, Phil, that means I'm going to have to do an extra lap. Phil, mark the flip chart. So I think that I hold the world record for the fastest indoor half marathon in a self-built visitor centre, which is something I'm very proud of.
Absolutely,
But we did raise a good amount of money for Threshold. And again, it was something that the whole team could kind of get behind in terms of helping promote it. And and it kind it was a nice thing to be able to do.
Yeah. We did have a beer in the car park afterwards.
We did, yes.
Fully deserved. I think he deserved it.
He deserved, but he couldn't drink on his own.
You had writer's cramp, though, didn't you?
Hard work marking those lads.
And he couldn't drink on his own, so
I love that. So amazing pandemic resilience. Online surgeries we've already talked about. I mean, I've got a question here, but I think we've largely been covering it as we're going. But is there anything, because the question I had was, what have you been able to achieve through employee ownership? I mean, I think we've been covering that as we go. Is there anything we haven't touched on?
I think the relationships is absolutely key, really. Awards, we've been lucky enough to win a few awards in the last 10 years, which has been fantastic. Financial performance, because ultimately we are a business, so we're a limited company. We need to make a profit. We want to make a profit, whilst being doing the right thing by our customers as well. And I remember the first year we had made a small profit, which was 2 or 3 years into our EO journey. And it was interesting because one of the nice things about being employee owned is you can, if you want to, share the reward, share the profit with your team. So we'd made a modest profit. And I put it to the team, look, we actually could pay a profit share if we want to. What do you guys think? And unanimously, everyone said, no, let's not do that. Let's keep that in the business. We know the recent history of a distressed business that we've all kind of come from. Let's do the right thing by the business. And even today, 10 years on, our kind of rule is that we always retain at least 50% of any profits that we've made in the company to reinvest in continually, like we were saying earlier, involving the centre. So looking up, we've changed all the lights to LED lights in the building. Brilliant. For every building every light in the building, I think is LED now. We've got 8 EV chargers at the front of the car park, which the business has funded. So we still have that ethos that we put the business first. That said, we have been in a position for 8 years in a row now to pay a profit share to the team, which is an amazing thing to be able to do. And this year, so back in June, our previous financial year, because it was our 10-year celebration, we wanted to pay a meaningful profit share to the team. So there were lots of discussions about what does meaningful mean, because it might mean something quite different to, from one person to another. So Katie, in her role as EO rep, helped have those discussions. And what it came down to is, for most people, meaningful meant the equivalent to a month's salary. So that's what we did. We paid a profit share to the team that for about 80% of the team was equivalent or more than a month's salary, which was something we were really proud of.
That is really impressive. You touched on something, and I will turn to Katie about this in a minute, but you mentioned EO rep.
Yeah.
And part of this is EO reps and conferences as well. It's like a very nationally supported thing, this employee ownership.
Yeah, that's it. So we've just come back from the annual Employee Ownership Association conference, which is an annual event that's run each year. Because we have not quite the majority of our shares, but about 48% of our shares sit in an EOT, an Employee Ownership Trust.
Yep.
That trust has trustees who look after that trust. And one of the key things for any EO business is that you have a genuine representation from your team. So every 2 years, which is our version of it, we elect 2 of our colleagues to be employee owner reps who represent the team as a whole. And I'm not going to steal Katie's thunder because Katie is our current EO rep along with her colleague Kirsty. Yeah. So Katie, you can tell us more about what it means.
Yeah, fantastic. So being an EO rep, it's a fantastic opportunity. I'm glad to help out my colleagues. It's something that I wanted to do. I've been here for quite a long time. I think there's quite a few different things that you need to do in order to fulfil your duties as an EO rep. I have got a few of them just noted down here. So one of the key things that I do is I attend the quarterly board meetings. And the reason for that is I'm kind of a bridge between the EOTs, the trust, and the kind of, the directors, if you like, of the company, and anyone sort of more senior. And then we've got the rest of the team. And I act as a voice. I kind of act on behalf of the team. I sort of share any of the feelings that the team might have, just make sure that everyone feels that they're fairly represented. If they've got any feelings towards something we should or shouldn't be doing, as a company. Equally, I'm meant to be there to hold the board to account, which can sometimes mean having difficult conversations, or not that it really does come to it often, but that is something that, I need to consider and sort of be up for having. Being involved in decisions regarding the best way to use profits and dividends in the company, sort of in the best interests of all the employees and the company itself, helping to maintain our EO culture, and that's something really important, just ensuring that our values are found throughout the business, and just making sure that we are sort of well planned and maintained in terms of leadership and management of the company.
Is it, and this is probably more a question from my mind going on it, is it you are representing the team that are sort of employee owners, or are you having to be very neutral and in the middle and be able to kind of like listen to both sides of the argument? Yeah, I had a feeling
100% neutral. Yeah, so it's like I said, it is being that bridge, and it's just making sure that we are holding everything going on in the business to account, and just making sure it's all heard and fairly represented.
Comes back to that transparency as well, doesn't it? So Katie sits in on our board meetings. So Katie knows that, the things that we're saying we're doing, we're actually doing, and if there are sort of big decisions to make or difficult decisions to make, Katie is involved, and we will and have done, we will seek Katie's, steer on that as well, and views on it, because it's important. And I think that just gives the whole team, and we are, bearing in mind we're a relatively small business, there's about 22 of us in total, but it gives the team that reassurance that their voice is being heard and being considered as well at board level.
Yeah, but including the board's voice is being heard, being represented to the team. Right? So fair shout. What about the conference?
Yeah, so that was fantastic. It was my first time attending. So went to it's the Telford International Centre this time. That's where it's held. I went with Harvey and then Amanda, who's our accountant and HR as well, and Kirsty, our other EO rep. We went up there for a couple of days, and we just heard lots of keynote speakers, lots of different breakout seminars. We learned about things such as how to provide excellent customer experience sort of as an EO company. I attended various breakout sessions. Some of them might have been different to Harvey, because you got to choose, because there was just so much going on there. It was a huge event. So some of the talks I attended were on topics such as how to be an effective employee trustee. Thought that was quite relevant for me.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be interesting to attend one called how to manage profit share, because even though I'm not sort of too involved in accounts, that side of things, just understanding at a deeper level how we manage that as a company. It's just really good to know about these things and try and learn something different.
Sorry, Phil.
I was going to say, I didn't go this year, but I've been to previous EO conferences, and they are special. They're fantastic.
Really?
Really, really good. And they get you engaged, and they are the employee ownership association. So they're the people that's, get everyone together and try and promote, employee ownership. I think when we first started Harvey as an employee, there was something like 400 employee ownership companies in the UK.
Yeah.
Now there's
1,650.
In fact, it's just about to tip over 2,000 now. And one of the reasons is that there's some it's an interesting one. There's an attractive way for an entrepreneur who has set up a business, run a business successfully, but is now headed towards retirement. So you've got a whole baby boomer generation of people that have done just that. They don't want to just shut down a perfectly viable business. They don't particularly want to sell it to a competitor. So employee ownership is actually an amazing opportunity where they can hand their business, to the next generation, the management team within that company. They might choose to take their kind of stake of the business over a longer period of time, but in that time they can manage the transition, they can make sure it's being run in the right way, the culture's retained, so it's becoming more and more attractive for people. Also, if you have over 51% of shares in the trust, the EOT, you can pay a profit share of up to £3,600 tax free. So that's really attractive for everyone working in that company as well. So I think the awareness of employee ownership, not just the kind of financial benefits, but the cultural benefits that it brings, and the way you can use it as a differentiator between you and your competitors. People are really understanding that now, and that kind of growth is just going to keep going upwards.
This might be a silly question, Harvey, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. And this is probably more for people that maybe don't appreciate the benefits of going employee ownership. You, 10 years ago, were putting a business plan together to take over this business that was struggling at that point, and you believed there was a way that you could get it working. You could have gone as the owner and got staff and could have built it up and could have been sat there as a fat cat at the top of this business, potentially, and could have sold it off in the future and all of this. I'm being brutal with the comments there, exaggerating it, but what made you go, part of this business plan is employee ownership?
Yeah, so I'll be absolutely honest in terms of response. So Katie mentioned our investor, a group called Capital for Colleagues. So Capital for Colleagues are a small number of investors who will only invest in businesses that either are already or are transitioning to employee ownership. And the reason they do that is because they've done the research, and they know that EO businesses typically are more productive and more successful and less chance of going under.
Oh, really?
So it's a smart move on their part, really, to kind of back the EO businesses. So if you asked me 10 years ago to talk about employee ownership, I probably could have spent 30 seconds touching on John Lewis and Waitrose, who are the same business, really. That was about the extent of my understanding of employee ownership. And what I knew that meant was great customer service. You've got team members who are, passionate about what they do, might go the extra mile, and they might get some reward if the company's doing well. That was about it. So we have had to do a real deep dive into what employee ownership means, and still 10 years on, going to this conference, every time we come back with learnings and we can improve the business and key kind of takeaways. We think, actually, I thought we were getting our customer experience right. I thought it was great, but could be even better actually if we just make these couple of changes. So it's about always evolving and always improving. But yeah, people will do that, but there will still come that point. Now, what do they do? How do they get their money out of the business? If they take it all out in one go and say, I'm off to the Bahamas, that business is gone. So it's possibly a more tax efficient route as well to actually hand the business to a trust, because you get capital gains tax relief. So there's various kind of reliefs put in place to make it an attractive option to keep that business viable and going and hand it to the next generation. And also, if you really have built up that business, you're going to have respect and belief in the people that have built that.
Agreed.
You can't build a business on your own, can you? You can to a point, but you need other people around you.
Absolutely.
So it's doing the right thing by the people that have helped you, develop that as well. And we are coming back to that word family. We're a very, very close knit team. We all respect each other. We've all got each other's backs, and this model of ownership allows us all to benefit from it and develop personally as well.
Do you have to be a certain size business before you can become an employee?
It's a good question. I'm not entirely sure, but I know certainly businesses where they've just got 2 employees that are employee owned.
Okay.
In our field of home building, there are lots of architectural practices which typically tend to be small number of people who have moved to an employee ownership model because they really like the idea of the culture and the shared risk and reward.
I think, Harvey, at the conference you were involved in a panel discussion as well.
Yeah, so on the second day, I was on a panel of 4 and we were talking about profit share. So I was telling our story about how we were able to pay our meaningful profit share and what that meant to the team. And also, how did we come to this decision of how do we share those profits fairly? And fairly is everyone will have a different version of that. So our version is, if you take me as an example, I earn the highest salary in the company. I also have some direct shares in the company, so I get, if things are going well, a dividend for those shares. So I've never thought it's fair that I would also get the highest proportion of a profit share as well. So Phil and I had been to previous EO conferences where we'd actually heard from other companies, and they had incredibly complex spreadsheets with pivot tables and different tabs based on kind of length of service, expertise, qualification level, age, that all those factors just kind of worked out what part of the profit share you would get. And we're like, that just doesn't feel right for us at all. So we said, no, we'll just take the profit that we're going to share, which is effectively the dividend that's paid to the employee ownership trust. Yep. Then the trustees would say, we will pay this as a profit, and we just pay it flat rate across the board, so everyone gets the same. The only calculation we do is a pro rata calculation depending on whether you work full-time or part-time.
Yeah. So
Phil works full-time, so he earns through the year 12 units. So every unit is worth 1 month of work. Yep. People take someone who works on the front desk, for example, part-time. They might work the equivalent of 8 units during that year. So they will get 8/12 of the profit share. Everyone knows it's nice and clear. It's nice and transparent. You can see the kind of pot of money and how it's divided out, and that's how we do it.
How did you, in that panel discussion, you put that idea forward, and how?
Yeah,
was
and it got some good debate because other companies, that's just not the right route for them. So James Delavine, who's the CEO of the Employee Ownership Association, he has this great phrase, which is, when you've seen one employee ownership company, you've seen one employee-owned company. They are all different. They what's right for us is not necessarily going to be right for another business. In some ways, it's quite easy for us because we've got a small number of staff, we're all in one location, and it's quite easy for us to communicate with each other. But if you've got different sites, sometimes across the world, thousands of employees, it does become more complicated. But if you can create something that's a really simple model, everyone understands it, and it's much more user-friendly for everyone.
Agreed.
You do have to tailor it to your business, like you said, and some of the talks that I'd attended during the conference, they spoke about how they elect employee owner representatives, basically, to be on their council. Well, with us, we don't really have an established council. We do to the effect, we have a board and we have the EO reps, but we don't have an established council with many, many people on it, whereas some bigger companies do. They'll take one elected member from each of the departments, whether it's sales, marketing, conferencing, whichever department it might be. And once they've done that, they might have 17 reps and they all sit in on a board meeting, but that is not how we operate.
That's what Harvey said, because we are a small team and we talk constantly, daily. I know what's going on in Katie's world, and she knows what's going on in my most of the time.
We do have regular team meetings as well.
It's easy for us to keep up with.
It doesn't need the formal.
It doesn't need a council and all that.
But you now are aware of that. Should
exactly. And that's how we can grow and develop in the future. Yeah.
I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to whip through a few more pits. A very quick one, as much as you can tell us. How did you celebrate 10 years of
10-year celebration. So, in a nutshell, we had a party.
Good. I was hoping you'd say that.
It was a party. It was kind of a party. It was a dinner. We held it here. So we wanted to recognise not just the employees, but
the key suppliers.
The key suppliers, the people that have helped us get to where we are today. So people that, some companies might forget about, for example, our cleaners, our cleaning team. Amazing.
Absolutely fantastic.
Do an amazing job, been with us through the whole time. They keep this place looking sparkly.
Yeah.
And people like that. Some of our suppliers, some of our people that we work with, maybe that produce some of our graphics or something, the local company down the road. Everybody, really. Some of our partners that have been with us for a long time, that are some of our key partners. So we had 120 of us, I suppose. And we had it here. We brought an external catering company in. We had a 3-course meal. Wow. We'd actually derived some of our own awards. So, for example, we had an award for, outstanding service to the centre. We gave that to a company that builds stands for us, PG Events, name drop them there. Mm-hmm. We had an award for the cleaners. We had an award. We give our Employee Owner of the Year award out that night.
Coveted award.
To Kelly, who's
well deserved.
Well deserved. And we turned it into an award ceremony, and it was a really nice night. Yeah,
It was.
There was a few glasses of champagne, prosecco.
It was important for us as well that we held it here at the centre. We had debated on, where should we do it? Could we take it off site somewhere? Maybe a bit more space, things like that. But no, we ended up decorating the centre. Obviously, we hired someone to help us do that. We had the venue beautifully styled. Our Potton House, when you first walk in, it's just a really stunning view. So we set up all the tables. It looked really lovely. It was such a great night. Yeah.
It does sound
Felt
good.
really special.
Again,
with the
you
awards.
mentioned we said from the beginning about being proud. There was a proud moment to hold that here, wasn't it? And to have that,
absolutely.
that was good.
Yeah,
I like that. That sounds so cool. Two things to really cover between you is what, and you possibly have already covered all of this, is there anything that was new in 2024 as a direct result of being, the agile, thanks to being employee owned, and what are we looking at for 2025? Who wants to start on that?
I'll tell you what we've done this year, but I'll do it really quickly. I just bullet point it because you can check out our website and see all of this. But one of the things that we really wanted to do this year was just introduce lots of new things. And the nice thing is we can experiment a bit with our calendar and our timetables and see what people want, coming back to what we were mentioning earlier. So we've introduced something called Market Day, which is the second Friday of every month, which is quite an informal day where we've got a number of our exhibitors who will just hovering on their stands. A couple of them might do a couple of short talks. And it's just a really nice informal way of engaging with people that you might want to get some advice from, during your projects. We developed some drop-in clinics, which we're taking forward into next year, which are very focused kind of half-day sessions. So we looked at some of the hot topic subjects like heat pumps, insulation, solar and battery storage, stuff that we've covered a little bit on previous episodes. And in May, we really wanted to focus or sharpen our focus on sustainable living, because sustainability is a big kind of thread that weaves through everything that we do as a business. So we launched a brand new show called the Festival of Sustainable Homes, which had a great kind of family friendly atmosphere, lots of stuff going on, lots of bunting up in the centre and vegan food offerings and things. And it was brilliant. So we're going to bring that back for next year as well. So loads of different events. And then the one new product that we launched this year is something called Benchmark, which is a membership for people who just want an extra kind of enhanced service, really, where they can really benefit from spending some quality time with some of the people that work on our help desk, some of our exhibitors, which is the only kind of paid for service that we offer our visitors. And it's for people kind of at the beginning of kind of big projects who, just want to get some enhanced support.
And into 2025, I mean, I'll stick with you for a second, is that I think by the sounds of it, you could have a big assessment coming up.
We can, yes. So we want to become a B Corp business. So a bit like 10 years ago, where employee ownership was, there was just a small number of businesses that were looking at that model, and now it's growing really, really quickly. B Corp is something that I believe is going to become huge globally, not just in the UK. And B Corp, if anyone's unaware of it, it's a certification that shows that as a organisation of any size, you have three main considerations. One is your workers, your employees. Two is the community that you operate in, and three is the planet. So that you're making decisions that are being very mindful of the impact that we have on the environment. And that just fitted so well with A, our employee-owned ethos, and B, the importance that we are placing on sustainability, both being sustainable as a business, but actually more so perhaps helping people kind of live and design and build better sustainable homes. So we have gone through a kind of 3-4 month process of putting in our application to become B Corp certified. We're in the queue at the moment, although they're sending us various kind of questions which we're doing our best to answer. So we are hopeful, fingers crossed, to be confirmed that early in 2025 we will get our B Corp certification, which we're very excited about.
And it's a no-brainer with everything that you guys do. It's kind of almost made for you guys, isn't it?
We think so. Yeah. So the interesting thing about it is it's very difficult to get. Yeah. It's even harder to keep hold of.
Oh, really?
You have to evidence and prove, quite rightly, everything that you're saying in terms of which suppliers you choose to use, how you pay your team, how you look after contractors that are working with you on a regular basis. Are you trying to use businesses that are in the local community when you possibly can? Are you supporting local initiatives and charities? Are you mindful of your energy use? There's this massive list of things that we need to consider, and we can't just tick a box and say yes we are. We have to provide spreadsheets and documents and reports to show that that's what we're doing. So when we get it, because we will get it, it'll be something that we can all be super, super proud of. But again, hopefully when people are thinking about whether they can, come and trust the advice and information they get from the NSBRC, that's another badge that kind of gives people that, that level of trust and us that credibility.
Love it. Katie, a new zone coming.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we've got our retrofit educational zone coming in 2025. So the reason behind why we wanted to create this new educational zone is because 19 million homes in the UK are in need of retrofitting. So this is to increase their energy efficiency. And that's in the face of the climate crisis and the cost of living crisis as well. Yeah. So it's something that we think as a centre, we currently kind of lack a bit of retrofit resources. So we have a self-build educational journey that's really popular. We do tours of the renovation house as well. So we use these exhibits all the time. We know how much people value them and how much can be learned from having a tour with one of our experts or just looking at it yourself. So we're developing the retrofit zone to kind of work alongside the other two. So if you're doing a retrofit, you no longer have to sort of try and go to different areas in the centre and work out, what's going to be relevant for you. It's essentially going to be a life-sized cross-sectional exhibit looking at different types of houses in the UK, different ages, just so that, you can basically work out what's going to be right for you and your project, and you can learn from a fabric first approach what you should be doing if you're undertaking a retrofit project.
And Chris, I should give a shout out to Nick as well, who obviously is featured in several of these episodes. It's actually off on holiday today, can you believe it? But Nick joined us at the beginning of this year to head up these two projects, the B Corp application and the retrofit zone, and has done an amazing job. So he is our newest employee owner. And he's our first sustainability manager. So it's great to have someone who's sort of genuinely passionate about it as an individual and bring that passion into, to our business. So he's driving both of these projects forward really nicely alongside kind of working with you guys to create these live episodes with Katie as well. So, I think it'd be a bit mean if we didn't give him a sort of special shout out because he's put so much work into both of these projects.
And I hope you're enjoying your holiday, Nick.
Yeah. Exactly.
Very quickly, Phil, anything new from you, or is yours really picking up with what these guys are doing it? And
I mean, tying it in really. So we've all said, a lot of the technologies that are coming, new technologies to people, heat pumps, that sort of stuff, solar panels, maybe not new, but the technology is constantly evolving. And for a lot of people, visitors walking through our doors, seeing all of our stands, how do I use this technology in my house? And maybe I don't want to build my own house, but I do have this house that I want to bring up to scratch. So we want to be able to show, so like I say, with this new retrofit zone, you can use this technology. Let's show you how.
It's the missing piece, I guess, isn't it?
The missing jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
So we've seen, certainly since the pandemic, actually, that people are spending more money on their existing properties now.
Really?
And they want to, sustainability is a big buzzword.
Yeah. We're also mindful of our energy bills, aren't we?
Yeah.
For a start. And also, the reliability of our energy and where it's coming from as well. And so that creates lots of questions, and it's a very complicated area. So as Katie said, these sort of 19 million, we've even heard 26 million homes, but a lot of homes in the UK that are of a really poor standard. They're cold in the winter, they overheat in the summer. They're consuming a huge amount of gas and electricity. So people arrive at the centre with lots of questions. So this new zone is only a certain size, so there's only so much we're going to be able to show. But our hope is that we can signpost people to credible, reliable kind of suppliers and providers of either services or information, and just get them to start asking the right questions.
And I can't go around all the houses, but like a couple of things that stood out to me was things like, for example, how and this is a big one for me, how we can actually use grey water for flushing loos and things like that, and have systems in place that enable that. We've got a huge problem in our house with limescale, really bad, like causing us problems, and we've had the occasional leak because of limescale. And that there is some amazing stuff that can go just outside your house that will just not only stop it, but clean up what problems have happened internally. You know, there's so many things above and beyond the obvious.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's a key one, which is what I love about the shows, is that come in with a predetermined set of questions that you want answered, or you want to investigate things. But I think it's also, do wander around, because there are things that you go, ooh, hang on a minute, I hadn't considered that.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Correct. And that's a key thing. Because what did you say it was, over 200 odd?
200 exhibitors, yeah. And you'll find actually, because it's quite difficult to see everything in one day here, or your head will just go.
Exactly.
So you'll see someone come at the start of the project, then you'll see them again in a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and then what's nice is you get to see the visitors. How's your project coming along?
I've heard that a lot.
So, you know, and that's a lovely thing, seeing someone come through the doors, just bought a plot of land, and then 2 years' time you see, we're just coming to choose our windows, the house is almost finished, or whatever. You know.
And actually, that's the thing that we were talking about at the conference, actually, was we really are going to start celebrating our case studies in 2025 and onwards, because the case studies, they really represent us achieving our why. You know, so came back to what we were saying at the beginning about kind of helping people build those better sustainable homes. Well, we've got a whole bank of case studies that Katie produces and puts together on our website, which are people that have done just that, you know, and the centre has played a really key part in them, in their journey. So that's where you think, do you know what? We're actually delivering on our purpose, and that is the most fantastic thing.
It's really rewarding.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because it's emotional from them. And on that note, of course, the good news is the next show is actually a 3-dayer that they can come for, isn't it? So Friday the 31st of January, and then Saturday, Sunday, 1st and 2nd of February. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday of those. Go on to the NSBRC website, what's on events, and then the National Self-Build Renovation Show. We've got 2 episodes in January, I believe, early and late, leading into that, so that people know what to expect and get everybody excited about that. So, but that's the next big show, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is indeed.
January is always our busiest month of the year.
Really?
So I think people have had a bit of a break over Christmas. They've kind of taken stock and maybe re-energised, but also noticed all the things that have gone wrong in their home as well. All the things they'd like to improve. So,
had all the family around and realised, oh my goodness, there's not enough space.
We need a granny annex, we need an extension, we're going to get rid of that old boiler, whatever it is. That wasn't the granny, the old boiler, that was their old boiler. But, and so they come into the centre of the new year, kind of refresh, right, we are going to commit to our project. So January is a fantastic month, and that show kind of just brings it all together really nicely.
Yeah, it's always most popular.
So make sure you get yourself signed on for that. Totally free, isn't it? But you've got to, if you book in advance.
Yeah, you just need to book in advance through our website.
Yes. So make sure you do that, because that makes it a no-brainer. So that's Friday, 31st of January, 1st, 2nd of February. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday of that weekend. Jump on. We'll be back with episodes in January as well to lead into that. This one should be going out, being broadcast. We're doing it now so that it's broadcast in the evenings for you, so that it's a little bit more likely to be able to watch it rather than during the day when you're all working and everything. So 6:30, this is going out on the 5th of December, but it'll be there for you to catch up with all of this. But if you're even watching it a month after this episode was broadcast, please don't hesitate. Get in touch with any questions for the team. You can put them in the comments, but if you want to make absolutely sure, is there a generic email address, inquiries at or anything?
Harvey at.
Yeah.
Harvey at.
I would do marketing at NSBRC.
That's a good one.
That's the best.
They'll come through to both of us.
Chris, if anyone's got any questions about employee ownership and they might be considering it for their own business, or they'd like to work for one, or they'd like to convert their existing company and have a word with the owner about it, we are always more than happy to have a chat about our story and give you some resources, including the Employee Ownership Association's website. So more than happy to hear about anyone who'd like to know more.
100%.
No, and I think it's really been insightful to see it firsthand of what it means to be part of that, and certainly seems to be working. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on this, and well done for doing your first one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have you back again.
I'm sure you will.
No, I told you it was easy.
That's fine.
No problem at all. So that's it from us for episode 5. We'll see you in January for episode 6. In the meantime, have a fabulous Christmas and a very happy New Year. Cheers.